One man woke up 8 years ago without the slightest idea of who he was.
Imagine waking up one day, hurt, alone, and with no idea who you are. No name, no past, nothing. For a man found behind a Burger King dumpster, this wasn't just a bad dream, it was his life. And the mystery? It only got stranger from there.
The continuing search for his identity is now the focus of a student-made documentary.
Who was this man? How could someone completely forget their own life? And why did no one seem to know he existed? The discovery. To unlock this mystery, let's rewind to a hot, sticky August morning in 2004. The sun was rising over Richmond Hill, Georgia, which is a quiet little town just off the highway. It was the kind of place most people pass through on their way to somewhere else. But on this particular day, something, or rather someone, stopped everyone in their tracks. Behind a dumpster at a Burger King, a man was found unconscious, barely alive. He was not just taking a nap after a long night, he was sunburned, starving, and had no clue who he was or how he got there. The man, who looked to be in his late 40s or early 50s, was discovered by employees arriving to open the restaurant. He was in rough shape, to say the least. His clothes were tattered, and he looked like he had been wandering for days, maybe weeks. No ID, no wallet, no phone, nothing that could tell anyone who he was. But this is where it gets weird. When paramedics arrived, he couldn't tell them his name. He didn't know where he came from. In fact, he didn't know anything about himself. Zero, nada. It was like his entire identity had been wiped clean. He was rushed to St. Joseph's Candler Hospital in Savannah, Georgia. Doctors treated his injuries, which were likely caused by sun exposure and malnutrition, but they quickly realized they were dealing with something far more complicated than physical ailments. The man had complete retrograde amnesia. That's a fancy way of saying he had no memory of his past life. His name, his family, his birthday, his job, and every single detail about who he was had vanished. He was a blank slate. Now, the shocking thing is that he did have memories of general knowledge. He knew what a phone was, how to read and write, and he understood the world around him. But when it came to himself, his mind was a complete void. Naturally, the hospital staff wanted to figure out who he was. They contacted the police, who did the usual routine. They ran his fingerprints through every database they could think of, local, state, and national. They checked missing persons reports. Nothing. It was like he didn't exist. This man was not in any system. No criminal record, no driver's license, no nothing. He was a ghost. The fake identity. The hospital staff started calling him BK because, well, he was found behind a Burger King, but BK was not exactly a name that rolled off the tongue, so someone suggested Benjamin. Eventually, he decided on Benjamin with an A because why not? It was as good a name as any. He picked Kyle as a last name, and just like that, Benjamin Kyle was born. Or reborn, depending on how you look at it. Benjamin stayed at the hospital for weeks, maybe even months, recovering physically. But mentally, he was stuck. Despite using hypnosis, psychiatric evaluations, and even old photographs, doctors could not unlock the mystery of his past. His mind remained a locked box with no key. Slowly, people started to notice Benjamin's story and have sympathy for him. Once he had settled on his temporary identity, the search for his true self began, with everyone around helping him in the process. But they knew this was not going to be easy. How do you find someone who does not know who they are and does not appear in any records? Still, people tried. The police, hospitals, and even the FBI got involved. They ran Benjamin's fingerprints through every database they could access, including state, national, and even international systems. And what did they find? Nothing. No match, no trace, no past. This was strange, to say the least. Most people leave some sort of trail behind, like medical records, driver's licenses, school documents, or even a credit card history. But for Benjamin, it was like he had never existed. Despite his amnesia, Benjamin had bits and pieces of memories that would occasionally surface. These were not full, clear recollections, but vague feelings and flashes of familiarity. For example, Benjamin believed he had grown up in the Midwest, possibly Indiana. He remembered living near railroad tracks and even had a mental image of the tracks stretching into the distance. But he could not pinpoint a specific town or address. Another memory was restaurants. Benjamin was sure he had worked in the food industry. He described working in kitchens and had knowledge of restaurant equipment and procedures. It was not much, but it was something. And then there was his age. While he could not remember his birth date, he estimated that he was born in the late 1940s or early 1950s. That put him in his early 50s when he was found in 2004. As his story gained attention, people began to speculate. Theories and speculation. One of the first theories to surface was that Benjamin might have been part of a witness protection program. It made sense on the surface. Witness protection programs are designed to completely erase someone's past to keep them safe, giving them a new identity and severing all ties with their previous life. The idea here was that Benjamin might have been a critical witness in a high-profile case, maybe against organized crime or even a corrupt government official. Supporters of this theory pointed to the fact that Benjamin's identity was completely untraceable. No fingerprints, no social security number, no records. It was as if someone had deliberately wiped him from existence. However, this theory had one major flaw. If Benjamin had been in witness protection, someone in the program would have come forward to help him. After all, the government keeps track of protected individuals. The lack of intervention from any federal agency made this theory less likely. Another popular theory was that Benjamin had been the victim of a violent crime. Maybe he had been attacked and left for dead behind the Burger King, and the trauma from the incident caused his amnesia. This would explain his physical condition when he was found. He was malnourished, sunburned, and injured. Supporters of this theory pointed to the possibility of a robbery gone wrong. Perhaps someone stole his wallet, ID, and any other personal items, leaving him with nothing to prove who he was. Or maybe it was not a random act of violence. Maybe Benjamin was targeted for some reason. Maybe there was something in his past that made him a threat to someone else. However, this theory also raised questions. If Benjamin had been the victim of a crime, why didn't anyone report him missing? The lack of evidence made this theory hard to prove. One of the more cynical theories was that Benjamin Kyle was not a victim at all. Instead, this theory suggested that he was faking his amnesia to escape something or someone. Maybe he had a criminal past he wanted to leave behind. Maybe he owed someone money, or maybe he simply wanted to start over. The logic here was simple. If you want to disappear, claiming amnesia is a convenient way to do it. You don't have to explain anything, and people are more likely to sympathize with you than question your motives. But let's be honest, Benjamin's actions did not fit this theory. He was not hiding or trying to live under the radar. In fact, he was doing the opposite. He actively sought help to uncover his identity. He went on TV shows and worked with investigators. If he was trying to escape his past, he was not doing a very good job of staying hidden. Some believed that Benjamin's condition was the result of a serious accident. Maybe he was in a car crash or fell from a great height, sustaining a traumatic brain injury that caused his memory loss. This theory was supported by the fact that retrograde amnesia, like the kind Benjamin had, is often linked to severe head trauma. But this theory came with its own set of questions. If Benjamin had been in an accident, why wasn't there a police report or medical record to back it up? And if he had been driving, what happened to his car? The absence of any evidence made this theory difficult to confirm as well. Another possibility was that Benjamin's amnesia was caused by psychological trauma rather than physical injury. In some cases, the brain can block out memories as a defense mechanism when someone experiences extreme emotional distress. This is known as dissociative amnesia. If this theory was true, it raised even more questions about Benjamin's past. People started wondering if he had witnessed something so horrific that his mind simply shut down. Now let's get into the wilder side of the spectrum. Some people speculated that Benjamin was involved in something top secret, maybe even a government project, and his memory was erased to protect sensitive information. Supporters of this theory pointed to his untraceable identity as evidence. If someone wanted to make sure Benjamin's past was impossible to uncover, they had done a pretty good job. The idea of government mind-wiping might sound like science fiction, but to conspiracy theorists it was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Of course, there is no actual evidence to support this theory, but in a case as strange as Benjamin's, it is no surprise that people's imaginations ran wild. Some theorize that Benjamin might have been a veteran who served in the military, possibly during the Vietnam War or another major conflict. His memory loss could have been caused by post-traumatic stress disorder, which is common among veterans, or by injuries sustained in combat. This theory gained traction because Benjamin was around the right age to have served in Vietnam. His knowledge of general facts and his demeanor also suggested a certain discipline, which some people associated with military training. However, this theory did not explain why there were no military records for him. Veterans are usually listed in databases, and their fingerprints are often on file. The lack of any match made this theory less likely. The biggest flaw in each of these theories was that Benjamin's family simply was not looking for him. Maybe it was because he had been estranged from his relatives long before he lost his memory, and they assumed he didn't want to be found. This would explain why no one came forward to claim him, even after his story gained national attention. Estrangement is not uncommon, and it could happen for any number of reasons, including family disagreements, addiction, or mental health issues, to name a few. If Benjamin had cut ties with his loved ones, they might not have recognized him even if they saw his picture on TV. So which theory is true? At the end of the day, none of these theories were ever proven or completely disproven during the initial years of Benjamin's search for his identity. What made Benjamin's case so captivating was that almost any theory seemed possible. Was he a victim, a fugitive, or something else entirely? The answers would not come easily. Different theories surrounded Benjamin and his past, but there was this one detail that kept puzzling the investigators: the distinct location where he was found, behind a Burger King. Was this just a coincidence, or did it hold some clues to his past life? The search for clues. It seemed random, but some people wondered if there was a deeper connection between his location and the reason for his amnesia. Benjamin himself didn't think so. He had no specific memories tied to Burger King or any fast food chain, but skeptics could not help but question whether the location held some significance. It is possible that he was left there on purpose. Maybe someone thought it was a convenient spot where he would be found quickly. Now, one factor that stood out was Benjamin's physical appearance. He had fair skin, blue eyes, and light brown hair. His features suggested Northern or Central European ancestry, which matched his claim of being from the Midwest. But even with this clue, there were still no matches in any missing persons databases. The idea that someone with such distinctive features could disappear without a trace baffled investigators. Life without a past. As the years went on, Benjamin struggled to live a normal life. Without an official identity, he could not get a driver's license, open a bank account, or apply for a job. He was trapped in a system that didn't recognize him as a person. This is why he relied on the kindness of strangers, doing odd jobs under the table and staying in shelters. At one point, he lived in a storage unit. Despite these hardships, Benjamin remained optimistic. He never stopped searching for answers, even when it seemed like the world had forgotten about him. Living without an identity took a toll on Benjamin's mental health. He also dealt with the constant frustration of unanswered questions. He kept wondering if his family was out there, wondering where he was. Despite the mystery surrounding him, Benjamin Kyle was not just sitting around waiting for answers. He became an advocate for people in similar situations, those without IDs or social security numbers who are essentially invisible in society. He spoke openly about his struggles, even appearing on shows like Dr. Phil to share his story. His goal was to find out who he was, yes, but it also was to shine a light on how the system fails people like him. But then came 2014. Something happened that changed the whole story of Benjamin Kyle. You see, after years of dead ends with fingerprint databases, missing person reports, and official records, a team of genealogists offered a way to search for his identity through his family tree. Genealogists specializing in forensic DNA analysis took on Benjamin's case. Using his DNA samples, they started mapping his genetic connections. Instead of looking for a direct match, they hunted for distant relatives, including cousins, second cousins, and even third cousins. The process involved painstakingly comparing his DNA markers to others in public and private databases, including ancestry websites and genealogical archives. By mid-2014, the effort paid off. The team managed to identify several distant relatives of Benjamin. These relatives were connected to families primarily located in the Midwest, with strong ties to Indiana. Slowly but surely, the genealogists pieced together the puzzle. They constructed a family tree that ultimately pointed to Benjamin's origins. Finally, Benjamin learned where he came from. According to the results, he was originally from Indiana. Through DNA analysis and conversations with these distant family members, it was discovered that Benjamin had left Indiana in 1976. His departure was abrupt, and after that, his family completely lost track of him. Over the years, they came to assume the worst, that he had passed away or met some tragic fate. This explained why no one had come forward when his case gained national attention. His family was not looking for him, they believed he was gone. Benjamin, now knowing the truth, chose not to reunite with them immediately. He was determined to protect them from the media frenzy that had surrounded his case for years. He stated that he wanted to shield his family from unnecessary attention and intrusion into their lives. Although he still withheld some personal details from the public, the breakthrough in 2014 was monumental. He also received an ID with the help of iDignity in Florida. For the first time in nearly a decade, Benjamin Kyle finally had answers about his roots, bringing closure to one of the most perplexing identity mysteries in modern history. While Benjamin Kyle found his origins, the decades-long gap in his life remains an unsolved riddle. What happened during those lost years, and why does his memory refuse to return? The answers may forever remain locked away, leaving us with more questions than closure. If you enjoyed this mystery, make sure to hit subscribe for more fascinating stories. See you in the next one.